Trump's 25% tariffs spark a trade war with Canada and Mexico. Police car light fire. The U.S. has slapped 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican steel and aluminum, and now, a full-blown trade war is unfolding. Any steel or aluminum coming into the U.S. from these countries is now taxed heavily. But Canada isn't staying silent. In a bold counterattack, Ottawa has announced $17 billion in new tariffs on U.S. products. And that's not all. Canada has warned Washington that if the tariffs aren't reversed, they could cut off U.S. energy, oil, gas, and auto exports. And here's the real shocker. In just 21 days, Canada will take things even further, hitting another $125 billion worth of U.S. goods with additional tariffs. This will give Canadian businesses time to prepare while turning up the heat on Washington. Ottawa has made it clear, reverse this decision or we'll use every bit of leverage we have. The big question now, is this the breaking point for U.S.-Canada relations? Will Washington be forced to reconsider, or is this just the beginning of a long and painful trade war? Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into this massive trade battle. Let's break it down. Police car light ice. Trump's tariff storm. Why is this happening? Trump has imposed 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum from Canada and Mexico, saying it's necessary for national security and to protect American jobs. This move affects key industries, including white heavy checkmark steel and aluminum, raising prices for U.S. manufacturers. White heavy checkmark agriculture, disrupting the food supply chain. White heavy checkmark automotive, hitting car makers with higher costs. Trump argues that these tariffs will help U.S. factories and create jobs, especially in steel, metal, and auto industries. But Canada sees it differently. For decades, the U.S. and Canada have worked as economic partners, relying on free trade agreements like NAFTA, now USMCA. Now, Canada says this tariff decision is a betrayal. In response, Canada has hit back hard with $17 billion in tariffs on American products. Did Canada overreact? Or was this move inevitable? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau didn't hold back, stating, "We will not let this unfair decision go unanswered." The first phase of tariffs, worth 30 billion Canadian dollars, $20.6 billion USD, takes effect at midnight, New York time, unless Washington changes course. So, is this a trade dispute or the start of a full-blown economic war? Let's dive deeper. Canada strikes back. $107 billion in retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Canada fire. If the U.S. doesn't reverse its tariffs, Canada will go even further, launching a second wave of tariffs worth 125 billion Canadian dollars. What's included in Canada's retaliation? Canada's first phase targets over 1,200 U.S. products, including white heavy checkmark everyday essentials, orange juice, peanut butter, coffee, wine, beer. White heavy checkmark consumer goods, clothing, shoes, cosmetics, household appliances. White heavy checkmark industrial and raw materials, pulp and paper, plastic products, steel, aluminum. Some of the biggest tariff hits include Moneybag $3.5 billion, cosmetics and body care products. Moneybag $3.4 billion, household appliances. Moneybag $3 billion, pulp and paper. Moneybag $1.8 billion, plastic products. But Canada isn't just relying on tariffs. Trudeau is considering other economic weapons such as police car light export restrictions on critical minerals and energy supplies, a major blow to U.S. industries. Police car light blocking U.S. energy exports, affecting American oil and gas companies. Trudeau's message is clear. Our tariffs stay until the U.S. backs down. Will Washington cave under pressure, or is this just the beginning? Let's discuss. Police car light fire. Mexico joins the trade war. Will it break ties with the U.S.? Mexico fire. Mexico isn't staying quiet either. Trump's 25% tariffs have pushed Mexico to prepare its own retaliatory measures, targeting white heavy checkmark steel and aluminum, making U.S. metal exports more expensive. White heavy checkmark agriculture, raising prices on American farm products. White heavy checkmark auto parts, disrupting U.S. car production. Could Mexico cut off key supplies? Collision auto industry at risk. The U.S. relies heavily on Mexico for car parts. Collision energy power play. Mexico may limit electricity and natural gas exports. Collision higher costs for consumers. Tariffs could drive up prices in U.S. stores. Will Mexico find new trade partners? With no deal in sight, Mexico says Trump has flipped the table, leaving them no choice but to fight back. Now, Mexico is exploring trade deals with China and the EU. Could this permanently shift North America's economy away from the U.S.? Meanwhile, Trump isn't backing down. Speaking head, they accept the tariffs, or they get nothing. Will this trade war damage the U.S. economy, or is Trump playing a long-term strategic game? Let's break it down. NAFTA/USMCA at risk. Can North America survive this trade war? Police car light. Trump's America First policy isn't just targeting China and Europe. Now, even close allies like Canada and Mexico are being hit. With $17 billion in retaliatory tariffs and threats to energy supplies, Canada and Mexico are saying, this time, we won't back down. Here's small blue diamond WTO disputes. Canada and Mexico may challenge U.S. tariffs legally. Small blue diamond auto industry crisis. U.S. factories depend on parts from Canada and Mexico. Small blue diamond oil supply shock. If Canada cuts exports, the US may have to rely on Venezuela, who has the stronger hand. Small Orange Diamond Trump's view. We're a big market, they need us. Small Orange Diamond Canada's response. We have other options. If this fight escalates, inflation could soar, supply chains could collapse, and factories could move elsewhere. Could this be the end of NAFTA/USMCA as we know it? Could the US be forced to back down? Domestic pressure mounts. As Trump's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum spark global backlash, pressure is growing inside the United States. While the White House argues that these tariffs will protect American jobs, businesses, consumers, and even lawmakers are warning of serious economic risks. 1. Businesses fear rising costs and job losses. American industries that depend on steel and aluminum, such as automakers, construction, and food packaging, are seeing production costs skyrocket. Companies like Ford and GM may have to increase car prices or even cut jobs. Beverage companies using aluminum for cans, like Coca-Cola, are also being hit. For smaller manufacturers, the impact is even worse. Unlike big corporations that can absorb costs, many small businesses operate on tight budgets. Some may reduce hiring, lay off workers, or even shut down. Meanwhile, farmers and manufacturers exporting to Canada and Mexico are now facing retaliatory tariffs, reducing their ability to sell products overseas. 2. Political pressure grows on Trump. The backlash isn't just economic, it's political too. Congressional Republicans and business groups are urging Trump to reconsider, fearing that inflation and job losses could hurt the economy before the next election. Will Trump stick to his hardline stance? Or will domestic pressure force him to back down? As the trade war escalates, the White House may face tough choices ahead. Trade war fallout. Who wins, who loses? With billions of dollars at stake, the trade war is reshaping North America's economy. Trump's supporters believe his tariffs will protect U.S. industries, while critics argue that they will raise prices and hurt businesses. So, who benefits and who suffers? 1. Could tariffs actually help the U.S.? Trump's argument is simple. Higher tariffs will bring back American jobs. If imported steel and aluminum become more expensive, then U.S. factories might expand production, creating more manufacturing jobs. However, experts warn that the higher cost of materials will increase prices for American consumers. Car prices could rise, home construction could become more expensive, and food packaging costs could go up. This could lead to higher inflation, hitting American families the hardest. 2. Will Canada and Mexico back down or fight harder? Instead of giving in, Canada and Mexico are hitting back with billions in counter-tariffs. If the U.S. doesn't lift the tariffs, Canada could restrict oil exports, and Mexico could turn to new trade partners like China or Europe. The biggest risk? Supply chains could be permanently disrupted. Factories in automotive, technology, and agriculture rely on seamless trade across borders. If companies move production overseas to avoid tariffs, American jobs could be lost permanently. In the end, are there any winners in a trade war, or does everyone lose? That's the question both Trump and his critics must answer. Police Carlight, what do you think? Drop your comments below. Fire.